relationships don't just connect us to others, they activate the patterns where safety was first learnt or first lost. Today, we're going to look at how relationship patterns reveal what is waiting to be healed. Many of us underestimate just how powerful relationships are for activating unseen or unacknowledged aspects of ourselves. One moment we're peaceful, calm, grounded, and the next minute a completely different side of us comes out. Maybe we're confused, defensive, reactive. And in those moments, some of us feel very regressed, as if we've become younger again, and wonder how we came back to that space, particularly when we thought we'd worked on ourselves, matured, grown, and learned through our past challenges. Yet we find ourselves back in these sorts of states again. And I'd like to really be upfront by saying this is not a failure. I use that phrase in a number of these videos. It is clearly and obviously to me not a failure. It is information. You are getting information from out of your conscious awareness generally. It's coming from a subconscious or unconscious level and being brought to the surface. So that's an important reframe to start with straight off. It's not failure. It is the case that our relationships actually shine a spotlight on aspects that need attention. It's actually our nervous system just falling back into a familiar pattern. Patterns that were learnt very early in life. Now, some of you may already know that the first 7 years of life are crucial in the development of our personality patterns and our unconscious beliefs. The reason why this period is so influential is partly due to the way the brain develops. That we don't reach a state of analytical or logical judgment and analysis until 7 and above. And even at age 7, that capacity hasn't fully reached maximum. It's only really around pre-puberty or puberty that we're able to really start to look at situations in a way that helps us, I guess, more holistically take in what's going on in a situation with our relationships and those around us. For example, we get closer to puberty and we might start to look at our parents and see that they are flawed human beings. They're not perfect, and that we don't want to do things the same way that they may have taught us. And before this, though, this 0 to 7 period where we're still moving through brainwave states of delta, theta, alpha, haven't quite reached that beta brainwave state yet, which is the kind of brainwave activity that's required for this more logical, analytical, big picture capacity. We are completely under the influence of our environment and particularly our caregivers during that period. Our nervous system is doing whatever it needs to do to keep us emotionally safe. Yes, we learn in that period to do what keeps us physically safe. Don't put your hand in the fire. Don't touch a hot oven. Don't step out in front of a car. So yes, the beliefs around what's physically safe for us are coming online in that period, but also what's emotionally safe. In fact, that is what's being modeled to us more consistently, what's emotionally safe. during that period? How do I fit into this system that I'm living in? My family. If you think about our ancestors, if you were cast out of the tribe before the age of 7, you would die. So there's this innate survival mechanism within us to belong, to be connected to those around us. We can't look after ourselves fully in those first 7, even more than 7 years. We're still very reliant on others to survive in the world. Can't get our own food and pay our own bills and look after ourselves in that way. So of course we are reliant on others and need to figure out strategies or ways of relating that keep us emotionally safe. And so that is what's driving things underneath the surface for us. Those patterns don't just disappear as we get older. They're maintained, particularly if there's any kind of conflict or sense of threat to our relationships. Those aspects, those parts, those beliefs are going to be the first to activate and implement whatever the strategies were that were needed back when we were younger. That might have been to withdraw. That might have been to people please. It might have been to fight back, become defensive, deny. If it wasn't safe to admit what you'd done wrong, you might lie. So when we start to see these aspects still present in us as we move into our adult life, it is not a failing. It is simply this magnifying glass for us, a spotlight to help us see where we can put our focus and do the work on ourselves. And I would also say that even those of you that are on a journey of personal growth or spiritual growth, and maybe you've read up a lot, meditated a lot, etc., and still find yourself having these sorts of reactions or responses, you might, question how that can be with the amount of time you've spent reflecting on yourself, turning inwards in a meditative space, etc. But I would throw another reframe at you around those of you that are in that category, which is that as your consciousness expands, more is brought to the surface. And so even as I look at myself and the work that I've put into addressing these subconscious / unconscious layers of myself and bringing balance, harmony, acceptance to these aspects of myself, new layers are revealed all the time, and they're all just parts of me calling out for resonance, calling out to find their way back to the state that they were in before they became hypervigilant or overprotective or wounded in some kind of way. So for me personally, I'll share an example that I've noticed over the course of my life, that at times I've been disappointed in myself for maintaining, but over time have been able to have some success in soothing and easing these parts of these tendencies. And it's around me personally noticing that if those that I'm closest to, so in romantic relationships, are to withdraw from me, then for me, that would typically bring about a similar type of withdrawal. So I would go, okay, fine, if you're going to do that to me, I'm going to withdraw back. And then, justify and defend myself for why I'm justified. If you're going to abandon me emotionally, then you deserve whatever happens next from me as far as any coldness or criticism, etc., in return. And I think for a fair period of time, that those parts that reacted that way to rejection or abandonment maintained that cycle and just kept it going. Felt justified, maybe even projected it back onto my partner at the time, whoever that may be, and then no growth unfolds from that kind of patterning. It's only really when I turned inward more fully and found those aspects of myself, realized what was going on with these parts and the fact that they were just trying to protect me. They did not intend any kind of malice by engaging in that deflecting or blaming or judging set of behaviors. They were simply trying to protect me, because underneath that was another part of me, a part of me that felt wounded, that felt abandoned, that felt sad that I was experiencing love being withdrawn from me, and that these parts were only ever seeking to protect that wounded part. Or wounded parts, there's more than one of those for me, and for most of us, really. Generally, there isn't just one inner child aspect to us. There's multiple. So I encourage you all to be mindful of that. In fact, right now, I would like to invite you to explore a little bit for yourself through a little exercise, through a little internal inquiry. And again, as I offer these little exercises as part of these videos, I invite you to either close your eyes or leave them open. It's obviously completely up to you with whatever you're comfortable, but to be willing to turn your attention inwards. And I would like to start by getting you to identify an individual in your life that reliably triggers off something in you, or stirs something inside of you. For this exercise, I'd encourage you to pick something a bit more mild or minor, not a real serious, activating or emotionally distressing circumstance or individual that creates that kind of reaction inside of you. So maybe just see if you can think of someone, maybe they just annoy you with the way that they do things, and just spend time reflecting on that. Bring that person to mind, or the situations to mind that they activate inside of you, and notice the emotional response. What does your body do? Does it tighten, contract, churn, ache? Notice those signals. They might only be subtle. Your body will tend to give you some kind of indication that you're not feeling comfortable, that you're not feeling emotionally safe. Just honour that is a signal, not a failing. It's information. And at the same time, become curious about what's underneath. Maybe something deeper inside you is calling out for space, or for reassurance. For closeness. Or maybe clarity. Maybe there's an unknown element to this interaction with this individual that doesn't sit well, and that the unknown seeks clarity. It may not be easy to detect exactly what it is. But for now, even just the curiosity around something else, something more vulnerable, sitting in behind this protective reaction can be enough. Can be enough to start to invite it to the surface. And maybe it doesn't find its way all the way to the surface right now, in this moment. But by being curious, you're creating a space and inviting it to be known to you. There's no regression going on here. You're not going back in time. You're simply creating an opening to meet what's within you in safety. And just take a nice full breath as you create a little more space for whatever you've just touched on. If it feels unresolved, then perhaps you can come back when you feel that you've got a little bit more time or capacity to explore that again. So in summary, when we heal around our relationship triggers and activations, it's not that we're moving into a state of being completely unaffected by these situations, by these people in our lives. It's that we're moving into a state of presence, in allowing these emotions, these signals to be witnessed. Our relationships are our greatest teachers, where love is learning, where it is being challenged in its capacity to land fully. So honor these challenges. Be curious. And bring compassion to yourself as you allow the emotions and the energies to emerge integrate and to be updated to where you are right now.